Okay, today I'm going to solve a puzzle from the Sudoku book Surrender to Sudoku by Will Shortz. He's the crossword puzzle editor for the New York Times, and it says 200 irresistibly hard puzzles. And they come in two varieties, demanding and then beware, very challenging. All the puzzles in this book are of a hard rating. It's a pretty good book. So I'll just jump in and get started. First thing I do when I solve a puzzle like this is I just glance and see if anything jumps out at me. And I can see 3, 3, 3. So I know that this top one right here is a 3. So I'll go ahead and write it in. And let's see if anything else jumps out. 4, 4, 4. I can see that one of these two has to be an 8. So 8, 8, 8. This has to be an 8. And there's probably a few others. 7, 7, 7. But just right off the bat, just to save time, I try to grab things that are obvious. Well, all right, now I don't see anything else. There's probably a few others. Next thing I do is I pick a level and I work across doing the top, middle, bottom technique. I'll go ahead and start here at the bottom and work my way up. So I can see there's no 1, so each of these, one of these is a 1. I like to write them down, put a box around it. I know that if 1 is on the top, 1 is in the middle, one of these two has to be a 1. So far, that hasn't done me, haven't found anything out, but I just keep looking until I find things. No 2s, 3 across. Aha, 3 goes across and down. One of these two has to be a 3 and a 1. So the technique I like to use is I'll write a 1 and a 3 in a circle, and a 1 and a 3 in a circle. And that kind of, 3, 3, 3. Same thing down here. All right, so now I'm up to 4. I can see that 4, 4, oh, here's an obvious one that I didn't see. 4, 4, 4. Okay. So 4 can't be the bottom. It's got to be one of these top two. It can't be this side, so 4 goes here. 4, 4, 4. 5. I can't tell anything about 5. 6. One of these two has to be a 6. It can't be the right, so it must be the middle. 7 goes bottom, middle, top, so this has to be a 7. 8, one of the top has to be an 8. It's not the middle, so I'll write a little 8 here and a little 8 here. So I'll know that one of those two is an 8. And then 9, I don't see anything for 9. I know what these two have to be because there's only 2 things left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these have to be 2 or 9. And if I glance up, I see there's a 2. This can't be a 2. So this has to be a 9, and this has to be a 2. I also, right off the bat, can tell what this one and this one have to be because in this row there's only 2 things left. So, and I can even tell you, I know what this one's going to be. If I do the bottom first, I know what these two have to be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these both have to be 2 or 9. I'll write them down and circle them. And that leaves me with just one thing left here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know this has to be a 5. And while I'm at it, I just glance up. I see 5 on the right, 5 on the left, so this is a 5. And now I do know what this one has to be. It's got to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know this is a 9 right here. And across the bottom I did pretty well on that. If I look here, I know what has to be here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 2, 5, or 8. Doesn't do me any good up there. All right. Now, when I'm solving harder puzzles, I go where it looks like the most logical. And I can see right here, I already know what those two are. Oh, actually, I don't. Still, I just feel like going up and down right now, so I will. If I look at the 1, I know that each of these, one of these two is a 1. Oh, I know which one it is. If I go up here, these can't be a 1, so 1s have to be here and here. So I have 1s on the outside, 1s on the middle, or on the left, and so one of these two middle ones has to be a 1. It can't be this one because of that 1, so the 1 goes here. And then I know now, since this is a 2 or a 9, that that has to be a 2 or a 9. Alright, so now I'll just continue. 1, 1, 1. 2 has to be the right 2. And here's another thing I just found. This can't be a 2. Nothing along here can be a 2, so one of these two up here has to be a 2. And so now, that doesn't do me any good there, but I'm a little further than I was. 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7. That's not a 7, so that tells me that the 7 has to either be here or here. And I like to just kind of connect them a little so I see they're together, because 7 can't be the bottom. So 7, and up here 7 has to be one of these top two. Now since I know 7 is the top two here, I just let my eye go 7, 7, 7. I see that that's not a 7, so I'll go ahead and write in these two 7s just to speed things up later. Alright, 8. This shows me that 8 has to be in one of these two. I already mentioned that earlier, but I didn't write it. And then 9, if I look here, neither of these two can be a 9, so the top two have to be 7 or 9. So if I put 7 or 9 here, and 7 or 9 over here, that tells me one of these two had to be a 2, it can't be the top one, so 2 has to go right here. And one of these two had to be a 1, it can't be the top one, so 1 goes here. Now I'll just erase my little notes that I made to myself. And I'll look back through it again. I can see that has to be a 7 or 9, so I know this has to be a 7 or 9. So I'll just go ahead and write it in. The reason I know it has to be a 7 or 9 is there's only two things left. Let's see. I want to run through again just to see what these are, just in case. So 1, 1, 1, 2 is the left side, right side, 2, nope, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, okay, 8, 9, has to be the 2 outside, the right 2. Okay, so I'm finished with this, I'm finished with that. And now I just can choose where I want to go next. I think I'll go up and down the middle just because I feel like it. No particular reason. Alright, I can see that 9 is the right, 9 is the middle, so one of these two has to be a 9. I draw a little box around it. And let's see, 8. Not enough information for the 8. 7, 7, 7, 6. I see there's a 6 here and 6 there. That tells me that the 4 corners have to be a 6 if you have a 6 going this way and a 6 that way. So either this, 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 or this, or 6s. I'm going to go ahead and write a 6 here and a 6 here. And I'll just draw a little, very faint line just so I know that they go together. So 6 is there or there. 5, 4, alright, 4 goes left, right, middle. One of these two is a 4. It can't be that, so the 4 has to go on top. 3 has to be the 2 right side. It has to be the 2 left side. does me no good. 2, 2 is left, 2 is right, so the 2 goes right here. And then the 1, I can see that 1 has to be one of these two because it can't be the top, it can't be the middle, so one of these two has to be a 1. Now here I can see that 1 is the right 2, 1 is the right 2. That tells me one of these has to be a 1, one of these 3 squares. It can't be the middle, so I'll go ahead and put a 1 here and a 1 here, and I'll connect them with a little line. Alright, now I've gone through that, and it's, I didn't really find much in that one. Right now I think I just feel like going across this way. So I've got 1, 1, 1, 2, 3 is on the bottom. Okay, 3 is on the bottom, and it's on this side, so one of these two has to be a 3, so I'll go ahead and write them in. And I know now that if 3 is on the top, 3 is on the bottom, one of these two has to be a 3, so I'll go ahead and write those in. Now I can go 4, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 2, no. Oh, for 7 I can see that none of these are a 7, none of these are a 7. So I know the 7 goes either here or here. I'm going to go ahead and write them in just so I have the information. 8, not enough to work with. 9, top 2 are 9. Okay, now I can either go here or here. Those are the two that are left. I think I'll go across the top. So if we look here at the 9s, or I'll start with 9s because this is what popped in my head. 9 on top, 9 on middle. One of these 3 is a 9. It can't be the left, so I'll put 9 and 9 here. And 8. Okay, when I do the 8, none of these can be an 8. That can't be an 8. So one of these two is an 8. So I'll write them in. And when I go across the bottom top, okay, there we go. 9, 8, 7. 7s are already written in. 6 has to be one of those, which doesn't do me any good. Or one of those. Okay, 5. If I do 5, I can see none of these are 5. So 5 has to be either here or here, and I'll connect them with a little line. Now also, just since I put 5s there, I know 5s go right, left. One of these 3 has to be a 5. I'll go ahead and write them in just since, when I solve harder problems, I try to, if things are obvious, I like to write them down. So 5, 4, bottom, top, middle. One of these two has to be a 4. It can't be this one, so that's a 4. 3 would go top, middle, bottom. One of these two is a 3. And when I look, I don't know which one it is, so I'll go ahead and write down 3s. And 2, middle, bottom, top. One of these 3 is a 2. I don't know which one it is. And then 1 of those 4 is a 1. All right, now I don't believe I've gone up and down this way yet, so I'll go ahead and work my way up and down this column. I'll start with 1 this time. I usually just start wherever I feel like it. And 1 is the right 2, not enough for 1. 2 can be any. 3, okay, here we go. 3, none of these are 3, and none of these are 3. Oh, we've already written them in there. Those two have to be 3, those are 3. 4, 4, 4. 5 can be any of these, any of these, any of these, any of these. 6 can be here. Okay, 6 cannot be the bottom and it can't be this side, so I know that one of these two is a 6. And if I look here, 6 is the top, 6 is the bottom, so this middle one has to be a 6. And the nice thing is, I've already written in that one of those two has to be an 8, so I know this has to be an 8. and I wrote in that one of these two has to be a 1, so I write in the 1, and I know that one of these two has to be a 3, so I write in the 3, and I know that one of these two has to be a 5, so I write in the 5. That's why I write my little notes down, and when I'm solving hard puzzles, I usually write down a lot more than when I'm solving easy puzzles, just because it, you see how it comes in handy later. And now I don't even remember where I was. I think I was doing 6 up and down this way. So now I'll do 7. Okay, 8. Okay, 8 has to be bottom, top, or middle. So I know this is an 8. And earlier I'd written down that one of these two has to be an 8. So I'll go ahead and write in the 8. And now I believe I'm up to the 9. And so if I look here, 9. And those two are 9. All right. And now, at this point, I might take a break, or I might start working through again. Well, for example, like right here, I can just obviously see what one of these two has to be. It's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 or 5. So I'll go ahead and write in the 2 or the 5. And I'll write in the 2 or the 5. And then let's see if there's anything else obvious. And then I'm going to take a little break and come back. I like to take breaks and come back with fresh eyes. It just makes it easier. And I don't see, well, I can see what these two have to be, so I might as well write them in. Oh, well, look here, there's a 6. That can't be a 6. My little line said that that must be a 6. So I'll write in the 6. One of these two had to be a 1, so I'll write in the 1. One of these two had to be a 5, so I'll write in the 5. One of these two had to be a 3, so I'll write in the 3. One of these two had to be a 9, so I'll write in the 9. And then that has to be whatever's left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this has to be an 8. So, and then my eye just sees that if that's an 8, this cannot be an 8, so this must be an 8. And since I'm doing this for a video, I want to clean things up and make it so we can see a little better. So, like I said, when I solve harder puzzles, I tend to, when I get a little bit into it, I usually take a break just because they take forever, but this one's going pretty well. 9, that's a 9. That had to be a 2 or a 9. It can't be a 9, so it must be a 2, so I'll write the 2 in. And then I also know that what's left here is 7 or 9. Well, there's a 9, so this can't be a 9, it must be a 7. And if that's a 7, this must be a 9. So I wrote those in. Let me clean up a little bit more. And then I see some more stuff that's already popping out at me. When I look straight up, I can see that 7. That had to be a 7 or a 9. It can't be a 7, it must be a 9. That had to be a 7 or 9. It can't be a 9, it must be a 7. And when my eye comes down here, I see 9. That had to be a 2 or a 9. It can't be a 9. It must be a 2. And so if this had to be a 2 or a 9, that must be a 9. And so, and once again, I'll do a quick look over. And if anything obvious jumps out at me, I'll write it in. Otherwise, I'm going to take a little break. Well, something just jumped out. There's a 3. This had to be a 1 or a 3. It can't be a 3. It must be a 1. And therefore this must be a 3. And I'll just keep going here and see what I can figure out. Probably if it were me right now, I'd go back up and down this way, or I'd go across these ways. I see that it's not going to do any good to go across here. I can see what those two are, so I think that's where I'll go first. I just picked the spot. Oh, and look what I just saw. There's a 7. I wrote in that one of these two had to be a 7. It can't be this one, it must be that one. So I'll write that down. And now I'll do what I said I was going to do. I'll write in these two numbers. They have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 or 6. So these are 3 or 6. That's a 6. So this one must be a 3. And the 6 must be here. And now I have, I take my eye straight up and I see that that was a 6. One of these two had to be a 6. It can't be this, so it must be this one. And there. Now, from here, I probably would go up and down this way, but first I'm just a little bit curious what these three numbers are. So those three numbers are going to be 2, 5, and 9. So I just want to glance and see. That's a 9. That means this has to be a 2 or a 5. I might as well write it in. And that's all that I got from there. Okay, now I think I'll work my way up and down this way, but first I'm going to write in what these two are because I can see they're the only two left. And just by glancing I can see that they have to be either 1 or 2 because that's all that's left. So I'll write down 1, 2 and circle it, and 1, 2 and circle it. And now I just found out what this is. And the reason I found it out is the 2 has to be on the right side. The right 2 columns is where a 2 has to be. Down here, a 2 has to be on the right 2 columns. That tells me if 2 must be on the right 2, 2 must be on the right 2. In here, 2 must be on the left. There's only one spot for it, so this is a 2. And I can already see that I'll know what the next one up is, but let me not get ahead of myself. Now, when I look here, there's only one thing left. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no 5s anywhere, so this is a 5. But I had written my little 7s down with a line to tell me that one of these two has to be a 7, so it must be this one. And I wrote down my 9s right here, telling me that one of these has to be a 9. So let me clean up those marks a little bit, and then we'll keep going. If I look down here, I know what those two have to be. So let's see what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these have to be a 5 or a 9. I'll go ahead and write them even though I already know what the answer is. I'm just writing them to show you. If this has to be a 5 or a 9 and this has to be a 5 or a 9, that's a 9. This can't be a 9, so it has to be a 5. This has to be a 9. Now my eye instantly looked down here and saw that this has to be a 2 or a 5. It cannot be a 5 because there's a 5 there, so it must be a 2. This must be a 5. My eye looks up and says if this is a 2, that had to be a 1 or a 2. It cannot be a 2, so it must be a 1. Therefore this must be a 2. And now I look down here, one of these two has to be a 1 and one has to be a 3. Well, that is a 1, so this cannot be a 1. It must be a 3. And if that's a 3, this is a 1. And I have just solved a demanding puzzle from Will Shortz' Surrender to Sudoku. And it's pretty hard. It had, I don't know how many numbers at the beginning, 22 or something. I didn't count them. But anyway, they're good puzzles. I would recommend this book to anybody that wants to start doing harder puzzles. And as you can see, every row has 1 through 9. Every column has 1 through 9. And every box has 1 through 9. I hope this was educational for you, and I hope you liked it. Anyway, take care.